afternoon and welcome to our watercolor workshop program featuring Megha Mehra. I'm Dina Henshin, Adult Services Librarian at Russ Library, and I will be your host today. Please feel free to communicate with me during the program by using the chat feature located on the bottom right of the WebEx screen. It's my pleasure to welcome our presenter, Megha Mehra. Megha is an award-winning artist helping Loudoun County patrons become confident painters by sharing her watercolor techniques for still life and realistic painting. Today, she will guide participants through the steps to paint a pair of giraffes in a realistic style. Welcome, Megha.
Thank you, Dana. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. And hello, everyone. Hello to each and every person who has joined in today on this beautiful Friday afternoon. I know it looks very beautiful outside. Maybe some of you have plans for a walk, bike ride, but here you are. You're painting with us as usual on this beautiful Friday. So today we're going to do something very cute and very special. Uh, it's going to be this giraffes. And I thought this would be a great painting for upcoming Mother's Day. And I think it depicts love, care, kindness, everything that children share with their mothers and grandmothers and aunts and sisters, everyone. But since it's Mother's Day, we're going to keep that as mom and baby. So we'll get started soon. And before that, I think Dina has already shared the link where you can find the reference picture and the line drawing. So I'll give you about 10 minutes to draw. And once the drawing is done, we'll discuss the colors and how to approach this painting. And since this is animals, don't worry if you cannot draw like a perfect giraffe. Just be just think of it as different shapes. If you don't get the mouth correct, that's completely okay. But just think of the beautiful thought between a mom and a baby, and everything will fall into place. So, yeah, get started with your drawing, and within 10 minutes, we'll start with the painting. So get started. And if you have any questions, please ask Dana or me on the chat, and we'll be happy to answer your questions. I hope most of you can see the camera very clearly. Hopefully, we won't have any technical difficulties like last time. And yeah, just get started.
Megha, I know I've asked you this before, but while people are drawing, can you tell people how you got started doing watercolors?
Okay, yeah, sure. Thanks, Dana. So, yeah, I got to keep you guys busy while you're drawing. So, watercolors, I have a very special journey with watercolors. I have painted watercolors when I was in school, but very, very little. I would say maybe like once or twice, and never touched painting after my school. And when I was pregnant with my son in 2011, I wanted to do something creative so that my baby could connect with that creative energy. And I didn't know what creative thing I should do. And I thought watercolors is probably the easiest way because I didn't want to get into acrylics and oils. And once I started, I just got hooked onto it and I loved the medium so much. But once I had my son, I didn't have that much time to paint. And for the next 5 years, I didn't touch my brush. But when my son went back to school, I got back into the painting. And this time, I didn't want to quit painting at all. So I've been painting very seriously and consistently since 2016. And now I exhibit, I do portrait commissions, I teach, and I do a lot of portrait classes as well. Portraits, still life, flowers, a lot of things. And I'll share my website as well if you want to stay in touch with me, you want to see my work or know about my upcoming workshops.
Megha, tell me your website again. I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah, I'll just put the link 1 second.
Okay. Thank you for sharing with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's my website.
And your email is Megha Watercolor, right? You're okay with people using that if they
Yeah,
have questions?
absolutely. Absolutely. Please definitely email me. I still get a lot of emails from a lot of library patrons who have taken my workshops, who have taken my workshop almost 6 months ago, and they still send me their paintings saying that they got the time again to paint it again after watching some of the recorded videos, and it really makes me so happy. I'll be happy to give you a feedback, and if you want to know more about the type of paints and all the materials I use and where I buy them from to save a lot of money, definitely send me an email. I'll be happy to share all those material lists with you.
Somebody's asking what size brush you're using for the, or are you using one size brush for the whole painting? And if so, what size is it?
Yeah, so painting, the size of painting brush is very subjective. Now, I have this silver white paintbrush, and this size is 8. Now, the size of the paintbrush is different with different brands, but I'm trying to stick most of the painting with this paintbrush, except maybe when I'm doing the eye or something, I might go with a smaller paintbrush. The only thing you remember is when you're painting in the larger area, go for a bigger brush so that you can cover that area very quickly. And with minute details, go for a smaller brush so that you have more control. And again, the size of the paintbrush is an artist's choice. Some artists really work with very tiny brushes, and they work with the same brush throughout the painting. Doesn't matter what area they're doing. And some people work only with very larger paintbrushes. So it's really a very personal choice. But like I said, small area, small brush, big area, big brush, and slowly you'll find your own style and own brush.
Thank you.
Yeah. So 5 more minutes, and then we'll get started painting these beautiful animals. And once again, I always repeat this in all my workshops, no matter where I am. It's very important to believe in yourself that you can paint. I know some of you are probably picking your paintbrush for the first time today, or picking it after a very long time, and you probably have never painted in watercolors, and that's completely okay. Just remember that with a little bit of practice, you can paint very well. That's how I got started. I had no idea how to go about with this medium, but just enjoy the journey. And even if it's a bad painting, it's okay. Don't throw them away, don't tear them away. Keep it, and then you can come back after a year and see this is where I was and this is where I am today. And if you can, paint every single day. I paint every single day, no matter what. Sometimes it's 5 minutes, sometimes it's a couple of hours, but make sure you keep your brushes wet. Some of you also, write to me about the watercolor medium, especially about, struggling with the medium. Yes, watercolor is a different medium because you're playing with so many different things. You're playing with the paint, you're playing with water, you're also playing with the texture of the paper, and you're playing with a very important factor in watercolors, and that's your timing. With other mediums, you don't have to really worry too much about the timing, but in watercolors, timing is a bit crucial. I wouldn't say watercolors is difficult. I would say it's a different medium. It needs a little bit more practice, and a little bit more understanding. So don't get discouraged if you form puddles on your painting. It's also a technique. I do it deliberately sometimes to get a certain effect, but slowly with practice and proper understanding of the medium, you will know when to form puddles and when not to form. So today we'll try to see if we can, cover any of those things. And once again, please ask me questions. Don't think you're going to interrupt me. Every question is important. There's no silly questions. And write to me if you have any other questions later on. So we'll be starting in 1 minute. I hope your drawings are all set. And one more thing I want to remind, whenever I put these workshops, or the library put these workshops on the website, the link is already shared with the reference picture. So if you want, you can go ahead and keep the drawing ready before the workshop starts.
Megha, one question before you get started. Somebody's asking if they can add leaves, and if yes, can you do like a sample of that at some point because they're not sure how to draw them?
Okay, I'll try if I can add some leaves, but I wanted to keep it a little abstract. The reason being, I want these two elements to shine. But let's see. Yes, you can add whatever you like. It's your painting. Definitely go for it. And maybe we'll try and see if you can add something. Okay?
Sounds good. Thanks.
Okay. So we'll get started. Okay? Now, the drawing is here. There is a bit of background. And I don't want to start the background right away because what's going to happen is everything is going to be wet here. And then I need to be comfortable painting on these areas. So I'm going to keep the background later. There is no specific way to approach a painting. The only way you need to remember is go in small sections so that you have more control over this medium. Okay, so if you look at the picture, we can see the first thing what comes to my mind is what are the shapes I see. I see these shapes here, almost like parallel lines, right? And then again here, if you see, almost like a sphere, like a circle here. Okay, so these are things you remember when you're trying to draw or paint. So I look things in the form of shape. And the next thing is I see what are the values. Values are nothing but the lightness and darkness of a color. And the best way to understand them is through your black and white picture. Okay, you see the whole thing is in the black and white now. So all you have to remember is this area is lighter and this area is darker. Okay, this is what makes any painting three-dimensional. Okay, so just remember that. And then all you see is what are the colors. Okay, I see, of course, the background has some nice warm colors just to show there's a lot of greenery behind it, greens and yellows and dark greens. And here you can see a lot of brown, reddish brown tones, very earthy tones. And then here again, very dark or brownish tones again. I see a bit of yellow or purples here and there, maybe oranges. So we'll just keep to that color, those colors, and not try to add too many colors so that you don't get confused, and just stick around. Okay, so we'll start in small sections. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to approach with this area. Okay, like I said, I always approach in small sections. I'm going to keep that. So first, I'm going to go with a very, very, this is just brown. I can say burnt sienna. Now, if you don't have the exact colors, it's completely fine. You don't have to worry too much about it. Okay, and I might see if I can add a bit of red or pink here. Yeah, that's fine. Blue. Yeah. Okay, I'm just trying to tone down this brown a little bit. Okay. And we're just going to go over this area completely. I am going to go really slow as much as possible because I know sometimes I can go fast. So don't worry. I'll give everyone time to catch up. Okay. And I'm going to leave this area as it is. Next, I'm going to come here and I'm also going to mix. I see in the picture a bit of purple tones here. Okay, so I'm going to mix some purple. How do you mix some purple? Maybe you can take a bit of pink, add some blue to it. And I'm going to keep a small, mixture of purple ready here. Same here. I'm going to take a bit of brown here again. And remember, I'm not going in all the areas completely. I'm leaving a few areas empty, just no paint. You don't have to put white. In watercolors, you don't use white paint. Or even if you use, it's very rare. And you just use the white of the paper as white. While this is wet, I'm going to just add a bit of these purple tones. I'm going to keep it very, very light. If you want to keep anything light, just remember there is more water and less paint. Okay. Now I'm going to just leave this area as it is, and we'll move on to the next one. But before that, I'll give you guys time to catch up a minute. And it's okay if your colors are not matching with my colors. Mixing is completely what you have with what you have. And if it's not the same, it's fine. Okay, let's go in the top area now. Okay, again, my planning is I'm going to leave a small area here with absolutely no paint. I'm going to leave it empty. Okay. So once again, a bit of that burnt sienna or brown. Oops, too much. Take a bit of purple and go in some of the areas. Okay. Then I'll do the same thing here. See, I'm going in small sections. Okay. Yes, some artists can go completely all over the painting in one stroke, but I like to handle in small sections so that I have control. Okay. So I'm going to do the same thing. Take a bit of that burnt sienna or brown. I think I need more purple. I haven't mixed much. So I'm going to mix more. It's always a good idea to mix more paint than you require so that you don't run out of it. Okay. Once again, going into small areas. I'll do burnt sienna here, same brown. Okay. And then we're going to come to this area. Okay. I'm going to keep the colors similar. Mostly brown and a little bit of purple here. Remember, in watercolors, you paint in layers. Okay, you cannot just completely take a big blob of paint and just put it on a paper, because in watercolors, one of the most important qualities is to make it look transparent, to see one layer over other, and that comes with thin layers of paint. So that's why you need a lot of patience with watercolors, and you got to develop that patience. It can be very exciting to take a lot of thick paint, just like in acrylics and oil, and go over it, but then it loses its transparency. It starts to look like gouache or like chalk. So be patient, and you'll see that how luminous your paintings will start to look. So here again, I'm going to take that brown. I think this brown is too, almost like a yellow. I'm just going to mix slightly with a little darker tone. And a very light layer. Okay. Maybe you can add a tinge of red here and there. You can see some red tones here and there. So you can take a bit of red here and there and add slightly. Okay, so we're trying to make it really colorful. Okay, I guess it's time to leave this area. When this is drying, it's better not to touch and fiddle with it. Okay, you leave it alone. Then I take a bit of more of this burnt sienna or dark brown, and we can cover the small area. Okay. And I'm just going to go in a very up and down motion, because it almost represents like fur, right? Fur of the body of the animal, right? So I'm going to keep that same direction. And you can see the direction in the photograph, what pattern it's following. Okay. When you're doing hair or fur like that, the direction is very important. Can go the same thing here. Okay. Now we can wait. Okay, next, what we can do is, while this is drying, how about we go and actually do the background, because I think this is going to take a bit while to dry, and I don't want to just keep waiting for it to dry. So background, again, background is completely your choice how you do it. As in the photograph, it almost looks like there's a lot of greenery around it. So we're going to keep it abstract and try to make it look like there is a very beautiful background around it without getting into too much details. So you can use yellows, you can use very light greens, you can use a bit of slight red. Okay, and I'm going to show you a technique called wet on wet, which is when your paper is wet, you add wet paint. So here you go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wet the small area of, actually, wait a second. Let's just first gather our paints. I'm going to use yellow. So I'm going to keep some yellow here before I wet the paper. So take some of the yellow or the greens or whatever paint you're going to use on the background and just mix it up a little bit so that you can use it as soon as the paper is wet. I'm going to take a bit of yellow again and some blue to make some beautiful greens. You can also make greens on the paper directly. So now I can wet this area. Okay, so again, taking small areas, I'm just going to add some water, plain clean water. And take some of that yellow. You can also take a bit of green here and there, just to give it a little bit of character in the background. Same way, we can continue in the other small areas. Okay, and continue. Plus. Okay, I'll give you guys 2 minutes to catch up. Any questions, please let me know. I'm going to do the same thing around this whole area. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to start wetting this area with clean water. Remember, we're doing wet on wet. Wet paper and wet paint. I'm just going to move around these giraffes or the shapes very carefully so that I don't get inside any paint. And make sure there's generous amount of water, not like a puddle, but there's generous amount of water in all the areas. Sometimes you have to go back and add some water because depending on the humidity of the room, your paper will start to dry. In summers, it will dry very quickly, very, very quickly. Okay, so here I am. I'm going to start using my paint. I'm just going to go have fun here without too much of worry about how or where I'm going to add any paint. It's just fun. because that's what I was planning to do for the background, a very fun background, not a very definitive shape background. And continuing that. See, I'm just mixing colors and they're just getting into each other and just forming like shapes, right? Taking blues and browns and okay. I think we're good with the background. Okay. And in a while, we'll get back to our actual painting again. Okay. So go ahead and have fun with the background. Okay. And all I'm doing right now while you guys are painting the background is I'm just mixing more purples and more dark browns, because once we get into these areas, we need more darker colors. Okay. And more thicker paint, I would say. I'm just keeping some paint ready. Okay. And you can touch your paper and see how wet or dry they are. This is still a bit wet, but this is quite good. So it's good, you know, we can go ahead and we can add our other layers of paint. Okay. You can speed up this process by using a hairdryer. I'm not using today, but that's one of the quickest way how to dry your paintings quickly. So that's a good way, yes. Okay, so we can get started with our giraffes. And remember, you know, I talk everything in form of shapes. So we're going to just deal with shapes here. Okay, there are no names, it's just a shape. So I'm going to go ahead and take little darker browns and try to paint them darker than what their areas around it were. The only thing to keep in mind here is each of these patches or each of these areas have to be slightly different than each other. Otherwise, they'll all just look same. Okay. So that's something I'm going to do. You can just take the same blend of browns, maybe take blues. You can just take some darker areas. Just make sure that they're slightly different, slightly varied. You don't want them to look all the same. Okay. And I'm really not trying to follow like a perfect color palette here. I'm just using the same colors that I've been using of the purples and the browns. So it just all belongs to the same color palette. You just have to keep varying the colors slightly. A little darker, a little warmer. So when I paint this area, I take some brown, and while it is wet, I'm just adding a darker paint on it, so that one, it saves time, and then you're doing wet on wet, which actually gives very natural color mixings, right? You don't have to go back and mix it on your palette. You don't have to do any of those things. And I'm going to just keep continuing to paint those areas. Until I get a really nice different colors here and there. You can already see they all look so different. Some are a little darker, some are a little warmer. Okay. And I'm going to continue to do this on the face as well. Okay. Here you can see that I'm just taking a very dark brown and getting close to the mouth here, or a shape, I would say. Okay. Continue those shapes. And as I come here, I see there are some, again, warmer areas and some very dark areas. And I continue to create a little bit of variation here and there. Right? Keeping the same colors in mind. You don't have to pick like a lot of colors. Just with 3 to 4 colors, you can do so much. And that's those paintings are the one that really glow because it creates a harmony of colors. Okay. Just taking dark areas wherever I feel is necessary and continue to paint with these colors. Okay. You can see this eye area is really, really dark. Okay. So I'm just going to, I need a little of blue here. And I might actually go use a smaller brush because I just feel it's a little too big. So you take a bit of blue and pick up this bit of this darker brown. Yeah. And you can see there's some like small spots here. You can use some of the purple. Yeah. I'll come back in this area. I need a little more warmth here. Maybe use some of the brown, but I want to let it dry. Okay. So I'm just not going to fiddle with it while it's still quite wet. Okay. So we'll leave that. Coming to this area, if you see this fur or this area, this small shape, this needs to look like fur. So I'm just going to take a bit of dark paint, like a dark brown. It has to be thick, less water. And I'm just going to go in the direction that I see in the photograph, and very few strokes here and there. Not too much. Yeah, that's good. Okay. So we'll leave this area here and then we'll go to the other giraffe. So I'll give you guys 2-minute break so that you can catch up. Just making sure I have enough paint. And I like to mix it. Okay. So when you get closer, okay, I can go slowly, one shape at a time, so that the rest of the areas can dry. Okay, maybe I'll go with the top one. Okay, keeping in the similar color as what I have, nothing fancy at all. I'm just going in the same color that I used for my base layers. Browns, darker browns, a bit of purples or blues. That's all. Okay, and the best part is when you do this wet on wet, it mixes it by its own, and you don't have to do much in the painting. Watercolor does its job, paints itself, like they say. Some areas I'm going to go more of purples. Yeah. So I'm just going to continue each of those small areas or shapes or patches, whatever makes you comfortable calling it, and continue to paint. Okay. As you can see, just with the same paintbrush, I've painted almost the whole painting. But that's just me. Everybody uses different brushes to paint the way they paint. Totally your choice. You can go for smaller brushes, you can go for larger brushes. I don't paint this small at all, actually. I paint very large, almost like 20 by 30 inches or at least 15 by 22. So I definitely paint with larger brushes more. But it cannot really paint big in, excuse me, in 1 hour. And that's why I choose to paint small here. Like a little too much with the water here, so I can see some patches coming out, but that's okay. I can fix it later. Okay. Continuing the other areas in 2 minutes. I'll give you guys a break for a minute to catch up. Oh, 4:45. Don't worry, we are close. We're going to finish this soon. And at this point, if you don't like your painting, it's completely okay. Yes, until you finish almost your 80 to 90% of your paintings, you may not like it. It may not look real. It may look unrealistic. That's okay. Most of the times, you need to go back and tweak your paintings a little bit, looking at the photograph. But it's completely fine if you don't like it. I never like my work because you're so close to it. You're constantly critiquing and judging your strokes, your mixing of colors, your shapes, everything. So it becomes almost like a habit, but be patient. Give yourself some breaks and go back and revisit the photographs and see what can I do better? Can I remove some paint? Can I add some paint? And then you'll see that your paintings will start to come alive and you'll do better. So yeah, don't beat yourself up if it doesn't look good right now. Okay, let's get back to this cute little face or shape, like I keep saying. Once again, yes, I am going to mix some colors. And get in with some dark spots here. And I'm just following like a shape here. There's no real, I would say, definition here. It's just spots. So we'll keep to that. Most important is your values, how dark or light your areas are next to each other. That's what makes a painting look three-dimensional. So if the face doesn't look like a face, there's a problem with probably the values, or of course maybe the drawing sometimes. But you got to go back and look at it again. If they all are the same value, all are light or all are dark, so that's why it's looking flat. And I'm just going in with the same concept of creating different values wherever these patches are, some dark, some light. Doesn't have to be exact what it looks. You can experiment a little bit. Is this a giraffe? It's not going to be mad. And continue with that. and continuing with all the other areas where I feel I need a little more darker, right? So wherever I get the opportunity, I go. Okay. And not bad, it's coming alive. I can see it already. A little more patience, getting there. And I can already see some areas are looking lighter. So see, I added a bit of more paint. Okay. All right. I'll get into the eye area of this giraffe, or let's not call it eye, let's call it a shape. Okay. Because the minute you think of eye, you feel a lot of pressure, like I need to make the eye like perfect. Don't look at it as an eye, look at it as a shape. Okay. Go slow with small areas. Okay. So go slow, bit of patience wherever you think is necessary, or actually throughout the watercolors. But with small areas, go very, very slow. You don't want to mess up your whole painting, right? Okay. Remember I told you I need a bit of warm areas here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a bit of maybe same browns and maybe a little bit of red or something, so that I can come here and make it look like a little bit more warmth here. Okay. Not too much, very little. You don't want to completely change the value of the painting. Okay, just very little. You can see that the painting will change so much. It's already changing here, right? I can add a bit of pink or something here, or maybe some red. Yeah, see, a bit of red here looks really good. Sometimes, like I said, we have to come back and tweak your paintings. Take a bit of red again here, just a little more darks. That looks good. Right. I can come back here again, but before I come back, it's still drying. Let's handle this small area. That's something that looks like fur. Okay. First of all, I got a very harsh line here. I'm just going to take my wet brush here, soften this area. Because fur has to be soft. Okay. And I'm going to use the same combination, bit of red, bit of that brown, and we can go very carefully, small strokes in the direction that you see. In between, there are some dark ones. It's too wet here, so I'm going to wait for a minute. While I wait, I'm just going to add wherever few lines I need to add. Okay. Is it? It's still wet, so give me a minute. I cannot go in and fiddle with it. And while, like I said, you at this point, you can keep looking at the other areas where it needs some tweaking. I do see some places need more color, so you can go back to it and add some color. This is how you handle your paintings. If some area is dry, go to the other area and paint. You don't have to wait and just sit there. I usually work 3 to 4 paintings together, so I am never waiting for one to dry. It also keeps me interested in different kinds of work. Okay, you can add some red here. Just have some fun. Okay. Is it wet? I think it's okay. So I can go back there with a bit of red and some burnt sienna. And again, very small strokes to make it look like fur. The direction is important. Okay. I'm going to take a bit of burnt sienna or brown, go in some of these areas where I would need a bit more of the warmth. You can see that the minute you put some warmth in some of the areas, it completely starts to glow, right? You can see that. Yeah, I think it looks good. I need some darks here and there. So darks are good here. And same way, go to the other areas with some darker areas. Since most of these shapes are almost repetitive, you can actually go at your own pace. Like you don't have to wait for me what color to choose. You can just look at your photograph and keep painting. Mix your own colors, because that will give you some independence to work as an individual artist. Okay, no matter how much you follow any artist, how to paint, it's important to have your own voice that you like. Maybe the choice of colors, maybe how bold you want to go, maybe you want to change something. So those things are very important. I always tell my students to paint, to change something into their painting so that they don't just end up copying my work. Okay, that's what you do. And looks like we are getting close to completion. Yeah, I think we are good here. And let me see if we can try some green leaf. It's still quite wet. But if you have to add a leaf, then I'll show you what you can do. Of course, you can make things look like a bark or something that's extending. Okay, something like this. But you'll have to wait. It's so wet that the color is completely or the paint is completely moving away. So that's very important. Like I said, timing in watercolors. But yeah, only when it's dry, you can add whatever extra things you need to add. Okay. I'm going to look at my other areas to see if I need to add anything else. That looks good. Yeah, I think this is good. And in the end, definitely don't forget to sign. You can sign your painting somewhere below. Don't sign on the middle. You never sign in the middle. It looks very odd, and it looks completely distracts a viewer from the painting. So definitely at a place where it's still visible, but not completely taken away by the, takes away the whole painting or what the painting is trying to tell you. So with that, we complete our workshop today. And if you have any questions, let me know. I'm still here. I hope you got to see my website and email me. And let me know what you think. Is there anything you want to paint next time? I think they have one in May as well. So let me know what you're interested in painting. And I'll try to incorporate that in my next workshop.
Thank you so much, Megha. That's gorgeous. I love giraffes.
Yeah.
I've gotten several thank yous for the program.
Thank you everyone for joining.
I did record this program, and as long as it came out okay, I will make sure it gets added to the calendar, so if people want to go back and watch it, they can. Lots of thank yous. The program was great. Thank you very, very much. Somebody said it was peaceful. Somebody said it was very peaceful.
I totally agree. We need so much peace in the world right now.
All right. If nobody else has any questions for Megha, we'll wrap up the program. I think we might be all set.
Yeah, that's great.
And everybody keep an eye on the online calendar. We do watercolor workshops regularly, with Megha being one of the regular painters. But we have several others that do them as well. So if you enjoy this, please make sure you check it out and join us for other ones.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we'll end the program then.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dana. Thank you, LCPL.
Thank you, too. Have a good one.